meditation practice, aimed at giving you a little bit of extra mindfulness, a boost in your meditation, extra happiness, joy, help you to calm down any kind of negative tendencies in the mind, etc. And so it's useful to reflect on these and actually try to apply them in one's practice. And one of these very famous ways of doing this is called Chaganusati in the sutras. And Chaganusati literally means the recollection of one's generosity, or giving up, if you like, or generosity. And generosity was the topic of last night's talk. So how do we incorporate this in our practice? And the way to do this is, well, first of all, as in all meditation, you always start off by establishing a level of mindfulness, first of all. All meditation really starts with mindfulness. There's no such thing as unmindful meditation. It's kind of that's like an oxymoron, a contradiction in terms, if you have unmindful meditation. And sometimes you find these words, contemporary words, like new coinages of terms, like mindfulness meditation, but really there is no meditation without mindfulness. It's a bit redundant to put mindfulness in front. So always start off by establishing a degree of mindfulness. And then as you go along, as you gain at least a little bit of clarity, that is when you can use this idea of Chaganusati, of recollection of your generosity, whatever you may have done in your life. And there's a number of ways you can do this. And one way of doing this is to remember a specific deed that you have done. Many of you may have done something in your life that you feel really gave you a lot of joy, a lot of happiness. Sometimes we do things that are very powerful, or we see other people who have done something very beautiful. We can even recollect the generosity of other people. And then when you bring your mind back to that event that you did some time ago, long time ago, that actually made a very powerful imprint on your mind, you can bring back some of the same feelings, that joy, that sense of uplift, that sense of clarity, that sense of spiritual, it's like a sense of spiritual feeling almost that you have when you have a very powerful sense of generosity. You feel that this is a spiritual quality of the mind. It draws you in the right direction. It makes your mind more peaceful, and it gives rise to all these positive qualities as a consequence. So it's these things are very, very sort of uplifting and very beautiful feelings inside. So you can do it that way. But if you do recall a past event, be very gentle with these things. If you use too much power, if you try too hard to do this, you're going to quash the whole thing. It's not going to work out. It has to be a very gentle movement of the mind, just like a little nudge. Bring it up. Oh yeah, that was a nice thing. Yeah, I did that. Wow, great. Good on me for doing that. A long time ago. And again, it's not about giving rise to a sense of ego, anything like that. But there's a sense of warmth inside of yourself, towards yourself, a feeling that you are a worthy person, that you're living your life well, you've done some good things, and saying, yay me, I'm doing the right thing. Yeah. And this is the way to do it. So be very gentle with yourself. Don't try too hard. If you try too hard, it's not going to work. It has to be a gentle movement of the mind. Or it can be more of like a general sense of your generosity. It doesn't have to be a specific event. It can be just a general knowledge that you're living well and that you are, generally a generous person. And often these feelings will come naturally. You just sit down, you close your eyes, and you will just naturally feel good about yourself because you know that you are living in a good way. But again, you use gentleness when you want to recall these things. Or it can be more like a theoretical idea about the idea of generosity. Yeah, the idea that sometimes these feelings or the things that we have done may be so deep in the past, we cannot actually recall any specific events. But we somehow know deep inside that generosity can be very powerful and very uplifting feeling. Yeah, and many of you have been generous for a very long time. I know many of you for years and years and years have been coming to the monastery, supporting us. Yeah, don't underestimate the power of this. The idea of supporting you in your, use that now to support you in your practice. Just the idea of generosity, just as a theoretical concept, can itself be very powerful. And the last thing I would also recommend you to do is that when you meditate, make the meditation itself an act of generosity. You should know that when you do meditate, it doesn't just affect you, it affects all the people around you, it affects everyone here at the Buddha Society, because by purifying ourselves, by getting rid of some of these bad qualities inside of us that are not the best perhaps, actually we function better in the world. We can act with more compassion and kindness. Thank you. This is very auspicious, isn't it? Just talking about generosity. Okay, sadhu sadhu. And you're actually giving as you meditate, because what you're doing in your meditation is going to affect the people around you, the world around you. And when you do that, you're adding this extra dimension to the very act of meditation itself. And this is, so try some of these things if you want to. If you don't want to, you don't have to. But check them out, because if they are taught by the Buddha, then you can be pretty sure that they are powerful and useful, and that they're going to actually empower your meditation and make sure you head in the right direction. So let's do some meditation together and try this out in practice. Okay, so just start out your meditation as you always do, by giving yourself a lot of time just to allow the mind to calm down, by finding the ease of the body, the relaxation, the freedom from pain and problems. Meditation is supposed to be something that adds to the quality of your life, not that subtracts from the quality of your life. So make sure you enjoy the process. Relax, find that ease, and remember, this takes time, so be patient, allow things to calm down. And as you start to find that ease in the body and ease in the mind, there's always the problem of thinking about the future and the past. And just gently remind yourself that there's nothing of interest in the future. The future is just more of the same, going on and on forevermore. There's nothing there that really resolves anything, that gets you anywhere. It is actually completely uninteresting. What is interesting happens now. Now is when you develop your mind. Now is where you move towards something more positive and wholesome. So bring yourself back to the present. Remember what matters in this life, and then give up the things that are irrelevant. And one of the important aspects of meditation is to always notice the positive qualities that come out of this practice. And instead of the usual tiredness of the world, when the mind is always dissipated all over the place, you can feel that when your mind is becoming peaceful, the energy starts to return. And it's one of these great things of meditation practice, the freedom from the ordinary tiredness of the mind, the energy coming back, and with that also the brightness of the mind. So make sure that you notice the positive qualities, because this is the whole thing that motivates you towards the spiritual path. And at some point in your meditation, when you feel that the mindfulness is fairly established, but you still need a bit of energy or joy, then very gently turn your mind towards some beautiful action in the past, whether your own or someone else's, something that uplifted you. But to allow it to happen very gently. Don't use any force. Just make a suggestion to your mind and allow the mind itself to search out those things that are really important to it, as if it happens almost as an automatic process. That lean the mind towards positivity, lean it towards something that is delightful. Allow the mind to do the rest of the work. Okay, so coming close to the end of the meditation. Before we come to the very end, just take a minute or two just to review your meditation today, and ask yourself if you do feel more peaceful, if you feel more at ease, why is that the case? Try to understand this process. Okay, everyone, so there you are. So are there any questions or comments, anything anyone would like to say? Everyone okay? Yeah, does that mean you are content or you're sleepy? Bit of both perhaps? Okay, everyone is okay, let's have a look at the questions from outside. So the first question here is from someone called Rajiv Gupta, and he's asking, is being present and aware sufficient, or is developing concentration needed? My breathing pattern is irregular, many gaps, hardly noticeable out-breath. How to develop concentration for insights to arise? Thank you. So being present and aware is only the first step of the meditation practice. Being present and aware, that is what mindfulness is all about. And if you remember the Noble Eightfold Path, the seventh factor is right mindfulness, also known as Satipatthana, which is the mindfulness of breathing and all of that. And then you want to go to the eighth factor, which is Samadhi, which is the deep states of stillness. And the difference is that when you have sati, when you have awareness, you are just know what is happening right now. But then you want to focus that awareness down. You want to focus it onto one object as much as you possibly can. And that is what samadhi is. So if you're able to be fully aware of the breath without any kind of interruption, that is the samadhi. And then you develop that samadhi more and more until you reach very, very profound states of stillness. And that is where you really want to go. So awareness is not enough. You want to purify that awareness. And the way the awareness is purified through samadhi practice. And then when you come out of the samadhi, there's a completely different level of awareness that comes out of the samadhi practice afterwards. That is what you want to do. And then, when you have a really deep state of samadhi, that is where insights become possible afterwards. So this is the first question. Then we have a question from Yongji An from Singapore. Bhante, how do we let go in meditation? It's a very good question. You start by being generous outside of meditation, and this is the first step in letting go. And when you learn how to be generous outside, then letting go also happens more easily within the meditation. So remember, what is it that we are trying to let go of? This is kind of the critical part. Sometimes we just say letting go without really understanding what it is that we have to let go of. And what we have to let go of is really the external world, because that is what we are attached to. So the whole external world is what we're trying to let go of. So the way to do that is to understand the downside of the external world. The more you understand the downside of the external world, the easier it is to let go. Because if you understand that something is problematic, that something is suffering, then you don't want to hold on to it anymore. And this is why times like these, when there is a lot of problems in the world, climate change and COVID and whatever it is that you don't like in the world, it kind of makes the whole world seem a bit yucky. And a yucky world is easier to let go of than a delightful world. So just remember the downside of life. Remember the negative aspect. That's really how you learn to let go. And then you can go to something higher. The other way to let go is to have some insight into the delights of meditation. And when you understand the delight of meditation, your mind goes towards that because it knows that that is where you find happiness. So understanding the downside and understanding the upside where it is, that is the right way to go. If you want to find out more about this, then please come to one of my meditation retreats, and I will talk about that a lot, I promise. Then there is another Rajiv Gupta, probably is the same Rajiv Gupta. He's really being cheeky, asking many questions, that's okay. Ajahn Brahmali, remember the dodgy character in the 8-day meditation retreat at okay, so that's you. Now I remember Rajiv Gupta. Okay, the dodgy one. Okay. He's calling himself the dodgy character. Okay, good. So now I remember you. Okay, nice to hear from you again, Rajiv. Hope you're doing well. Then we have a question from Wolfgang Guse in Germany, who ask, why use words like impermanence, which can have a nihilistic flavor for fear of losses, and not use words like transformation and growth instead? Let's just stay with the loved ones. You can, and of course everything is, things are certainly transformation. Growth, well, that depends how you use the transformation. If you use the transformation wisely, it becomes growth. But if you don't use the transformation and impermanence wisely, it does not lead to growth, it leads to suffering. What happens when your loved ones die? Is that growth? Or is it when your loved ones die, is that growth or is it decline? Well, it really depends on how you relate to death. If you relate to death in a very wise way, you grow spiritually. But most people grieve when people die. It's difficult for people to deal with death. It's almost a universal problem in humanity. So this is why, if there's anything which shows the characteristic of impermanence, death is the most kind of clear way of thinking about impermanence. And that's why where you understand why impermanence tends to be suffering. So this is really how to think about it. And this is why we need a spiritual path, because these problems are always going to be there. Anyway, good luck. I hope you make sense to you. Next one is Tim. Eddie Tim, not sure. Eddie from Indonesia. Okay, whatever. How do we see thinking right about being now if our now is pain and stress? Okay, well, that's thinking right about it, to know that it's pain and stress. If you know that it's pain and stress, you know right now is dukkha, I've got to do something here. That's thinking right about it. If you think, it's not a big deal, it's stress, actually it's real happiness because I'm making lots of money, even though it's stress, that's when you have a problem. You have to be realistic first and foremost. When you are realistic about what your situation you're in, you can do something about it. Is it worth all that stress and pain just to, I don't know what you are doing, what is stressing you out? Maybe because you want to climb the career ladder, maybe your boss isn't the greatest person in the world, or you are want to make heaps of money, and in the course of doing that you are maybe feeling lots of stress. I don't know what it is. You have to ask yourself what really matters in life. What truly makes you happy? What truly makes you content? What truly makes you satisfied? What gives meaning to life? What adds value to life? And as you think like that, that is when you start to change. So take that suffering. This is the reality. If you keep on going with that suffering, it's just going to carry on. It's not going to change. The problem is you are doing something which creates that stress, probably chasing things that are maybe not so worthwhile. Or maybe you are in some relationships that are difficult. Difficult relationships can cause a lot of stress. And it's important to sometimes to try to get out of those difficult relationships. Otherwise, you just end up destroying your own life as a consequence. Okay, Dark is a person called Dark. Okay, hello Dark. How to overcome the feeling of dizziness when meditating with eyes closed. Dizziness, okay, that's interesting. I'm not sure exactly what you mean by dizziness there. I probably don't know why that is happening. Yeah, maybe try to meditate with your eyes open. See what happens. Yeah, can be done. Yeah, Ajahn Brahmali had some favorite stories about meditating with the eyes open. You can get very peaceful even when meditating with your eyes open. And it's possible, but it's more difficult. So try meditating with your eyes open if that changes anything. Yeah, it's okay. Just make sure you are in a peaceful place. Yeah, look at the white wall or something incredibly boring, and then maybe you can have some success with open eyes in your meditation. But normally, if you have dizziness, it's a sign that something isn't quite right. So if you have that, don't carry on. Stop, do something else, maybe do walking meditation or something like that. Because that's not. Then you don't actually have. You obviously have your eyes open when you do walking meditation here. Yeah. Do you keep your eyes still or move them in a pattern? Okay, that's a part of the same question. Usually, you don't move your eyes in meditation. If you keep on moving your eyes, it's kind of not going to work. Yeah. Except if you do walking meditation, then there will be a little bit of movement in the eyes, but not when you sit with your eyes closed. You don't usually do that. So, yeah, it's very important, I think, if the meditation isn't working and you feel some kind of negative result from closing your eyes, then don't carry on. Don't just keep doing it, as if nothing is happening. Then stop, because that is where there is some potential danger. If you feel confused or you feel deluded or you feel angry in your meditation, it's not a good sign. Stop, chill out, relax, and then come back later on if you can. Oh, another one. Okay, Jesus. Okay, this is from Debbie Collins. Hello, Debbie. I'm struggling with forgiveness. Any suggestions? Okay, so now we are moving a little bit beyond meditation, but that's okay. So let's very quickly say, how can you forgive? And of course, there is yourself to forgive, and there is other people to forgive. If you can forgive others, you can usually forgive yourself. If you can forgive yourself, you can usually forgive others. And the way to forgive is usually just to remind yourself that nobody in this world really knows what they are doing. Everyone is walking around in blindness. People are deluded. Even if they act in a bad way, they don't really know what they're doing. They're hurting themselves more than they're hurting other people. And anyone who hurts themselves is just blind, deluded. How would anyone want to hurt themselves? That's exactly what people do by hurting others. So if you think someone has hurt you in your life, forgive them, because they really don't know what they're doing. I know that's almost like a saying from the Bible. Is that right? I don't know much about the Bible, but apparently I think it is. So forgive them, because they have no idea what's going on. They're blind. They're hurting themselves more than they're hurting you. And anyone who's hurting themselves, they deserve compassion. And from compassion arises forgiveness. So just understand the blindness around you. Okay, that's all for today. So let's just pay respect to the Buddha Dhamma Sangha.